Good morning, everyone.
Mrs. Ong, my mom forgot to bring the comparison report. I know you wanted a hard copy.
Okay, yeah. Could she bring it tomorrow? Because I won't be picking them up till tomorrow. They don't get sorted for a day or so. So when she goes into work tomorrow, do you mind if she brings it then?
Sure.
Problem solved. Hey, today is Wednesday, May the 5th. May the 5th be with you. You like that? I did not make that up, but I heard it this morning and thought I'd pass it along. Okay, so that you can just give that away all day long. May the 5th be with you. Okay. All right. Quick question to start us off, a little bit of trivia. Does anyone know what the name of the plot to kill Hitler in 1944 was called, that Dietrich Bonhoeffer was part of? Does anyone know what that is called? Just take your microphone off. I'd love to hear your voice.
Blitzkrieg?
Oh, good try. Nope.
Wasn't it Operation Valkyrie?
Oh, good one. Yes. There is a movie with Tom Cruise called Valkyrie. It is not totally, surprisingly, I know, historically accurate, but that is interesting if that's something, if you're interested in World War II movies. Valkyrie is an interesting one. And we're going to talk a little bit about Dunkirk today. And there's a new-ish movie out in the last couple of years with Kenneth Branagh. I haven't seen it, but I asked Mr. Ong. I actually didn't even know it existed. I'm really into BBC historical stuff. So, but he watched it and he said it's a good one. So if those are some movies you want to catch with members of your family, it can feel like you're doing history and watching a movie. So there you go. Okay, we're gonna jump right in to talk about Blitzkrieg today. So if you could open in your notebooks to the package that has your fill in the blanks for Blitzkrieg warfare, I'm going to try to share my screen. If you could let me know within 10 seconds or so, if you can't see this, that would be really, really helpful. Can you see Blitzkrieg Lightning War up on your screen right now? All right, I'm getting a thumbs up from some people. Oh, so good. Okay, so Blitzkrieg just means lightning war. And this is one of the first times things have happened so quickly, where tanks on the ground have moved quickly with aircraft cover in the air to get the troops where they wanted them to be really quickly. So we remember from World War I that tanks are moving at a few miles an hour. So they're not moving quickly and they're not equipped for moving well over difficult terrain. There's been some massive improvements, and we're going to see those today as we look at how this lightning war was able to happen. Okay, so what we mean by lightning war is that in less than a month, Hitler crushes Poland. And remember, it is that, I'll get you in just a sec, Joey. It is that moment where Hitler invades Poland that is the line for the Allies. So Britain and France have let him take a number of other countries in the name of reuniting German people, and this was ours anyway. You took it unfairly at the end of World War I. So remember, we have this Munich conference. Everyone's happy. They've got a signed paper from Hitler that he's not going to take any more. But then September 1st, 1939, he invades Poland. And by September 3rd and 5th, we have Britain, England, and Canada, Britain, France, and Canada declaring war on Hitler because of that. Joey, you had a question?
Sorry, I just couldn't find my page because it was behind a whole bunch of other stuff, but I got it now.
Okay, gotcha. So after 20 days of fighting, the Polish army has collapsed under this unending attack by German tanks and bombers. So we've got tanks on the ground moving really quickly, and we have bombers. Again, the advancement in technology between World War I, where they are literally, remember, they're holding a gun, or they have attached a gun, a machine gun, to the side of the plane. This is what they're throwing, bricks from their planes in World War I. Remember, this is the kind of air warfare we have. By World War II, they're dropping bombs. By the end of World War II, atomic bombs, but for now, they're dropping other small explosives from airplanes. So huge advancements in war technology here. So Hitler has taught the world a new word. This is where we first see this Blitzkrieg word being used, with how quickly. So within 3 weeks, remember our video we watched clips of last week, the Polish army is kind of backward. They're using a cavalry still. So cavalry versus tank of World War II, tank is going to win pretty well every time. So really quickly annihilates the Polish army. So Blitzkrieg is an incredible military tactic that catches the enemy off guard, and it was extremely successful for Germany. Again, Blitzkrieg depends on control of the ground and control of the air, which Germany had over Poland within 3 weeks. You're going to study a little bit more about the Panzer tanks and the Stuka dive bombers. We're going to look at that today. And then you also have a handout that provides a little more information about that. So
Aren't there normal bombers? I'm sorry.
Sorry, Joel.
Aren't the normal bombers of the Germans in World War II the Junkers?
Sorry, can you spell it?
I think it's Junkers.
Interesting.
I think that's what their normal bombers were called.
Okay. Interesting. It's also called the Luftwaffe, the whole Air Force, specialty Air Force. Okay, so that's what made the Blitzkrieg successful. We're going to look a little bit at the tanks. The German tanks, called Panzers, were fast, and when they were used together, could punch into the enemy line in a way we haven't seen tanks able to do up until this point. It seemed like almost nothing could stop the German tanks when they invaded as a group. So here's some photos of like a group of tanks. Combine that with air cover, and you have a pretty unstoppable force. So quick little contrast. Here's the British Mark IV moving at, what did we, like 6 miles an hour, something like that. And here's the Panzer. So pretty incredible difference. So the bombers, the German Air Force, called the Luftwaffe, was critical to the success of Blitzkrieg. Dive bombers, called Stukas, could do terrible damage to the enemy in no time. We're going to watch a clip from the movie Dunkirk in a few minutes that shows the Stuka bombers in action. And this sound, you can look up on YouTube, sound of the Stuka bombers. If you've watched World War II movies, you've probably heard like terrifying. It's like everyone stops and they know what's coming, and there's literally nowhere to go by that point. So here are some black and white photos of the dive bombers, and we can see kind of like the tanks that when they are working in unison provide just awful, awful damage. Okay, so what happens is we see that Poland and then France are taken really, really quickly. And I think you'll get to France in your reading. Let me see. Sorry, I just want to skip ahead here. Yeah, so you'll get to talking about France. We'll just bring some of that up right now because I want to contrast. Remember the Schlieffen Plan from World War I? It was actually developed before World War I, but it was kind of set in motion for the first time during World War I. Does anyone remember roughly what the Schlieffen Plan was? No, no takers there. So it was the idea that Germany would attack France by first traveling through Belgium, and the plan was to take Paris in 3 weeks. So they would take France by traveling really quickly through Belgium. And the idea was that France would surrender once Paris was taken, and then Germany would attack Russia. So that was the Schlieffen Plan from World War I. They never actually successfully did that, but that was the idea. So when World War II rolls around, we have the same strategy in some way being used, but you're going to find in your reading that a couple of bombers, German bombers, crashed, and they had the plans for how to take France with them, and the plans didn't burn. So the Allies got a hold of the plans. So then Germany knew that they needed to change the plan. But the Allies were still expecting the Germans to follow through with the plan that they found on these German bombers. So they were expecting Schlieffen Plan Part 2, so that Germany would attack France by going around into Belgium and go right for Paris in a hard, quick attack. That's what they were expecting again, but Germany doesn't do that. Instead, Germany goes through the Ardennes forest area. Okay, so let me pull that up. Do you want to just flip in your package? And I think you'll see, I can pull it up, but let's see.
Right, Mrs. Ong, above the phony war thing is the thing that says what was attached to the Stuka so that they could land in the snow. That wasn't in the slideshow yet.
Okay, we'll get back to Sitzkrieg in a second. I want to finish off Blitzkrieg. Listen to me with all my German. Okay, so I'm just trying to pull up my, okay. So in your reading, yeah, okay, maybe, can you still see this screen? Blitzkrieg, Dunkirk, and the Fall of France? Can you see this right now? Yes?
I still see the map.
You still see what?
The
I
map
still
with
see the
like
map.
France and all the arrows. Germany
Oh,
going.
okay. New share. Let me try new share. Can
There we
you
go.
see Blitzkrieg? Lightning
Dunkirk
War?
and the Fall of France.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. Okay, great. So you're going to read this in more detail, but I just wanted to show you a little bit about, okay, so there's Dunkirk. Let's see. Okay, yeah, so right here, the map that I can't see for looking at it. So right here in the Schlieffen plan, they were expecting that Germany would go through Belgium and around to Paris in that kind of 3-week big push right over to Paris. That's what they were expecting. But instead, Germany has a 2-pronged attack that goes through a heavily forested area called the Ardennes. So it has forest, it has rivers, it has all of it. So France is thinking there's no way that Germany is going to be able to get through there. So kind of like feeling like that was a safe zone. So they were poised here to defend in this area. But because German tanks have progressed so much, they were able to string pontoons over these smaller rivers and get the tanks across, making these makeshift kind of bridges. So in that way, they really surprised the Allies who were braced over here, expecting Schlieffen Plan Part 2 and Belgium, so protecting over here. But this 2-pronged attack kind of straight through this forested hill and valley kind of area that tanks of World War I would never have been able to get through, tanks of World War II could. So that is Blitzkrieg. So they get to France, they get to Paris, and Paris falls in days. And that's a huge loss for the Allies, because now the German forces are able to take over France, which was such a valiant opposition to them in World War I, but in World War II falls in days. So then we have Germany setting up German forces in we'll call it Vichy France. So that's a real problem, because this is Britain. We can't really see it in this map, but just over what's called the English Channel is Britain. So then we're going to get the Battle of Britain. We're going to get German bombers bombing Britain and all of that, because that's kind of the last hurrah. If Germany can take Britain, it's basically won, because it takes France so quickly and by surprise. So that is devastating for the Allies. When the Allies realize that Germany has not done kind of Schlieffen Plan 2, but has taken France and surprised them so quickly here, there's mass evacuation at Dunkirk, where they're just trying to get those troops out of France before the Germans capture them, make them prisoners of war, kill them, whatever they're going to do to the Allied troops. So they're literally getting squished, kind of like the Israelites, between the German army and the English Channel here. And so Dunkirk, although it is a retreat, it is one of the highlights in terms of rescues for the Allies. You have British cruisers, fishing boats, as well as warships, all coming over through the night in bad weather, trying to rescue hundreds of thousands of troops that are stuck here with the German army advancing very quickly. So this seems like, you're going to read about that in this page handout, but this seems like a good time to move over to our, I had pulled it up. I don't see it now. Sorry. I'm going to pull that up in here, but sorry, it's not sharing my YouTube screen. Let me just see if I can figure out why that is. Oh, here, great. Okay, so can you guys see this YouTube screen now? Movie clips? Okay, great. So it's just a couple minutes. They're on Dunkirk beaches, waiting for evacuation with, again, Britain was sending over warships, sending over cruise liners, sending over fishing boats, like anything and anyone who had a boat was asked to help evacuate the French and British troops and Canadian troops here at Dunkirk.
Wait, the ship's about to leave. Wait, ship's about to leave.
Hey Han, do you have a question about the video?
Ryan just texted me. He said his laptop is about to crash.
His what? Laptop is?
About to crash.
Oh, okay. All right. Hopefully you can catch some of this, Ryan, or plug it in.
Where's the bloody Air Force?
Okay, so that's just a really brief little clip. Disclaimer, I have not seen Dunkirk, and Mr. Ong sometimes when he's watching his movie is not watching as a parent. Hey, is this a great recommendation? So take that with a grain of salt. There's probably going to be language and definitely gore and graphic, but if that's something that interests you and is good with your parents, that would be an amazing thing to catch even this weekend if you have some time or some evening to see a little bit more about what World War II and what that evacuation at Dunkirk was like. Okay, awesome. So we're back to Blitzkrieg. So let me pull up. So after this massive push and this capture of Poland, Belgium, and France, there really is this time of kind of digging in, sort of trench warfare, nothing much going on. So after this incredibly fast take of Norway, Denmark, France, and even like Yugoslavia this way, so we can see that Germany is pushing out in 3 directions. Why is Germany not pushing here into what we come to know as the USSR? Does someone tell me, why is Germany not pushing here?
Because he's allied with Russia and he's gonna wait till he takes more of Europe before he attacks Russia,
Right.
because it's a lot bigger and stronger.
Right. So we have that German-Russian pact that happened in the summer of 1939, just before World War II begins. So there is still this like peace pact that Germany is honoring while it's convenient to them, and they're pushing out in these other areas. Okay, so mighty France, which fought Germany for 4 years during World War I, is defeated in 6 weeks. Very humiliating, and just from a morale level, devastating for the Allies. Because again, it means that Germany is pushing all the way over here, and all that's left is the island nation of Great Britain. Okay, so sorry, I skipped this one. In the spring of 1940, Germany attacks Denmark. It's defeated in 1 day. Norway falls in 2 days. This is all part of Blitzkrieg. Okay, so Poland falls in 3 weeks. Denmark falls in a day. Norway falls in 2 days. France falls in 6 weeks. Netherlands is smashed in 5 days. Belgium fights for 18 days. Again, if you've read The Hiding Place or you're familiar with that, Corrie ten Boom describes there the bombing of Rotterdam, which 78,000 people are left homeless. Like 78,000 people have nowhere to live because of that. And then that's what prompts the Netherlands to surrender when Germany threatens to annihilate another city in the Netherlands. Okay, so we see all of these European countries falling, some in a day, a couple days, 5 days. France holds out for 6 weeks. Okay, so by the end of Blitzkrieg, this is how it's looking. And we have the Canada flag here because Canadian troops are trained in Quebec and in Newfoundland for the most part in World War II. That's where the training camps are, and then sent over to active duty or to wait for their call to active duty in Britain. So this is why we have Canadians here, so that they can easily be deployed here.
What about Australia and New Zealand?
Yeah, they're part of things too. I'm not sure if they're waiting in Great Britain as well. It's a great question. Or if there's another spot that Australians are deployed to while they wait. Okay, so Hitler's use of Blitzkrieg or lightning war allows the German army to quickly overrun the nations of Europe. Only Britain and Russia are left. And in the spring of 1940 through 1940, Germany is honoring its pact with Russia because it's convenient to think, okay, I don't have to fight on that front. But we're going to see the Nazis invade Russia and go back on their alliance. Okay, so this is kind of, everyone sees this as Hitler's fatal mistake, spreading himself too thinly by attacking Russia now. So if we slip back to this map, Hitler has now kind of gotten power hungry and felt like this is my time to go back on my peace treaty with the Soviet Union and begin attacking here now too. And this is the moment when everyone says, if he had only stayed fortifying this area, Russia was quite happy, remember, for Europeans to annihilate each other. And then Stalin was going to come in and, take the Baltic provinces and Poland and some of Yugoslavia. Stalin was quite happy for Europeans to just fight it out and him to remain strong and save his armed forces for the division of Europe after the annihilation happened. Okay, so this is the moment that for the Allies, it's a good thing that Hitler kind of was power hungry and wanted to now take the USSR as well. We're going to see the Ardennes again in the Battle of the Bulge, but we're going to see Hitler moving in the opposite direction this time. So watch for that. The Ardennes will be important again in 1944 when we look at the Battle of the Bulge and retreat. Any questions? Anyone miss any blanks from our seminar together here? Okay, so what I would like you to do for the remainder of this period, we're gonna stop shortly here. I would like you to read the page. We kind of looked at it briefly together, and then there's a fishbone organizer for you to just fill in some of the details. It's review of what we've talked about in our seminar, and you'll have a little more just reading that page on Blitzkrieg and Dunkirk. Just a little more information to fill in on that fishbone organizer. That literally will take you probably 20 minutes. So you'll have time in this period now. I'm gonna wrap up in the next couple of minutes. In tomorrow's period, what I would really love you to do, and I'm gonna put this up so that it's clear, but I'm just gonna introduce it now. I would love you to look at the resistance movement that happened in France and in Holland, particularly, where German forces took over and they began to ally themselves with some of the French and some of the Dutch people who wanted more food, who wanted better protection, so that we see some of the French and some of the Dutch people began to join forces with the Nazis because that was a way for them to get ahead politically, for their families to be safe, for them to get better rations, so that we see really they're seen as traitors within their own country. Those Dutch people and those French people who begin working for the Nazis, either as spies who rat out their neighbors, or as officials who begin policing the neighborhoods, looking for Jews, looking for collaborators. So I want you to look at Bonhoeffer in Germany, and I want you to look at Corrie ten Boom in Holland. And I'm gonna write this out in your journal entry for tomorrow, because there we see believers who are doing amazing things, risking their lives to hide Jews, to overthrow Hitler, to sabotage the German effort to gain control and keep control in those countries that they've taken by force. Any questions about that? So really just tomorrow's period, I want you to spend looking up some heroes, specifically Bonhoeffer and Corrie ten Boom, who as single people did some pretty incredible things in the resistance movement. Questions about that?
Sorry, is the page you want us to read called "Why Did the World Give in to Hitler? The Case for Appeasement"?
No, we've already done appeasement. So the page I wanted you to read was the one that I pulled up.
I don't have that one.
Dunkirk, Blitzkrieg, you don't have that? The one I pulled up in screen share? Okay,
Nope.
does anyone have that one, or did it get missed somehow?
Is it on Edsby? I just assumed it was on Edsby.
Oh, I'll put it on Edsby, but I had planned to give you a hard copy of that along with the, do you have the fishbone organizer?
I can check.
Yeah, they might be out of order. Again, I had to send it all to Mrs. Pennings because I was quarantined. So she
got-
did her best with this.
I've got the appeasing Hitler page and the T-chart.
Okay, no, we're looking for fishbone organizer. So I'll put
No, I
that
don't
up
have
on
that one.
Edsby right away. As soon as this seminar is done, I'll put that up right away. Thanks for letting me know about that. And then tomorrow's period is spent on looking up some heroes, not just politically because of their resistance, but also heroes for us because they stood up for what was right and trusted that God was going to provide. And he did, but not always in the way that they expected or we might have hoped. Okay, questions about that? I'll try to make sure those instructions are clear tomorrow. Just want you to spend some time looking on the internet for things about Bonhoeffer and Corrie ten Boom, how they were involved in the resistance movement. Okay, great. Well, I will let you go and end things here. Thanks for joining me. And I'll put the fishbone organizer and that just quick page of reading up right away. Okay, have a great day. There's no English seminar. I did post that. You're just connecting with your partner on the theme. And I think everyone has okayed their theme with me. So you're free to research that. Okay, great. Have a great rest of your day. Oh, hi. Small Van Dyke boy.